Welcome to the first episode of Power Talks with Santosh Shah, Season 2. In today's episode, we have with us a special guest, the Ambassador of Malaysia to Nepal, His Excellency DATO ILANKOVAN KOLANDAVELU. Malaysia has become an influential nation in Asia today, with its unique approach of economy and prosperity and fraternity. So Malaysia has played a key role in the global effort of combating terrorism since 9/11. Now that Osama bin Laden, the most wanted chief engineer of terror factories, is dead, what has Malaysian government taken as a new approach to dealing with extremism?
Well, my own perception is that with the demise of Osama bin Laden, I don't think so the international terrorism will be eliminated altogether. You know, if you look over the years, Osama bin Laden has become more of an inspirational leader and a face for international terrorism. And now there are so many cells, independent cells operating, so-called franchise cells, in many parts of North Africa as well as in Asia. So I think in addressing this problem, Malaysian approach has been consistent as well as participatory role. I think I can draw parallel to our own experience in handling own domestic terrorism that is posed by communist insurgency during the 50s, 60s and 70s. You know. We have very successfully addressed our domestic terrorism posed by communists in those years, basically by opting to two approach. You know, one is of course by military means to seek and eliminate the communist insurgents. But other means, of course, to identifying what are the root causes that cause communism to prosper or thrive. In Malaysia, so we have identified that poverty is one of the main causes. So we have brought massive development and prosperity to Malaysia. With that, there is no support for the communist insurgents in Malaysia. So I think we can draw the same parallel, same lessons in addressing international terrorism. Besides resorting to military means and force, I think we also have to look at the root causes. What are the causes that lead to international terrorism? Maybe it could be marginalization, poverty, and perhaps issues like Palestine. So I think we have to really look into these issues to identify the root cause. As Mahatma Gandhi once said, an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. So just resorting to force might not address this problem in its entirety.
Asia has great economic prospects. At the same time, Asia, as you said, also hosts the small and big terror organizations. But Malaysia's approach is very unique and homegrown. How can Malaysia talk about this example in an international scale, especially with Europe, America, and United Nations?
As I just said, I think the most effective way of addressing this terrorism, besides resorting to security and military means, is identifying the root cause, as I just mentioned to you. I think the root cause can be in many areas. It could be poverty, marginalization, and other areas, other issues, international and maybe even regional issues. So I think we have to address that issues before we can effectively address terrorism, international terrorism.
I would also like you to share with us one of the secrets that Malaysia holds in maintaining its economic stability. The major cities around the world, rich cities, have been bombed by the terror activities and economies have suffered. Since 2008, we have had economic recession. Malaysia somehow still maintains its economics. What are the secrets behind that? I
think I'll be very glad to respond to that. I think over the years, almost 53 years since independence, Malaysia has built up a very strong economic fundamentals. So much so, even during the financial crisis in 1997, we were able to resuscitate and recover the economy and set the economy on a recovery path without resorting to IMF remedies. I think the government constantly has been inventing and reinventing our economic policy strategies and approaches, and we have very much diversified our economy. So if you look at the economy, it started off as agriculture based and we moved on to industrial based, and now it's knowledge based and service based economy that we are trying to promote. So, and the government also has come up with a massive economy, a very bold and brave economic program and strategies called the Economic Transformation Program. So this will be now implemented in Malaysia to put Malaysia on a high growth trajectory and path. So this will also enable us to achieve the vision of 2020 of Malaysia becoming a developed nation by that year. You know.
Malaysia's economic growth has taken in a very small time span. How was it achieved, and what are the lessons or examples that with which the developing countries like Nepal benefit?
I think there are many factors come into play. You know. First of all is political stability. I think this is very important. You know. Political stability is a basis for economic growth and prosperity. So if you look in Malaysia, the same political party has been in power. It started off as 3 parties during the time of independence. It has now expanded to almost 14 parties. And these parties represents all ethnic groups and races and all regions. And they have been very successful in forging national unity and ethnic unity. And secondly, I think the leadership. We have a very visionary and able leadership. And now, since independence, we have only six prime ministers, you know. And these prime ministers, the 6 prime ministers come from the same political party.
Okay.
And so there is consistency in terms of policy, you know. So when there is a change of prime minister, it's not a regime change. It's only change of leadership. Okay. The policies remains. But we constantly improve and refine the policies, you know, to keeping with the economic, changing times, you know. So thirdly, I think is the bureaucracy. So we have a bureaucracy which is very professional and very committed. I think they have set a very good track record in bringing in prosperity and economic growth. We constantly invest in our in professionalism of our civil service, you know, and they have done wonders in bringing about economic growth to the country as well as managing the country. And of course, fourthly, is eradication of poverty, irrespective of race. If you look at Malaysia, when we received independence, our poverty rate was almost 75 to 78%. But now, of independence, our poverty rate is just about 5%. So I think eradication of poverty is a very important aspect, you know, to address this economic growth. Yeah. And of course, the other issues are education. We have invested massively in education. Almost 20% of our budget, operational budget, goes for education, because we believe the human resources are the most important factor for any economy. So we have invested massively in education. And lastly, I would think the ability of the government to implement the 5-year development program. So we are now in the midst of implementing the 9th Malaysian development plan. We call it the 5-year Malaysia plan. So it's a 9th plan now. I think we have almost achieved 90% success rate in implementing these Malaysian plans.
But in a way, political stability has helped the economic growth and also maintain its consistency. But to what extent does the harmony of various religions and ethnicities support political stability?
I think if you look at the ruling party, which is governing Malaysia since independence, it comprises of 14 parties representing all ethnic groups and races, and also all regions. And I think we have been very successful in forging ethnic partnership, collaboration. So what we have done is that there are major races and ethnic groups in Malaysia. We were able to pull the strength together for national development. So I think because of political stability, the government can concentrate on economic growth and reviving the economy and set it on a higher trajectory path.
Malaysia so far has maintained itself from several threats, but recently the biggest worry is the natural threat. In 2004, Indonesia, Thailand and Sri Lanka were affected badly by tsunami. Now it was Japan recently. Since Malaysia is located in the same region, how is the government assessing this natural threat?
Well, I think we are very fortunate. We are situated in the part of the world where Malaysia faces almost no national calamities, except for the occasional floods which we face. You know. We don't have earthquakes, we don't have volcano eruptions, we don't have hurricanes. You know, of course, we had a tsunami in 2004, but this was a very, very isolated incident, only incident that happened in Malaysia. So Malaysia is very well prepared, you know, to face all these calamities. So we have an early warning system for tsunami, which was immediately put in place after the 2004 tragedy. And we also cooperate very closely with ASEAN and other East Asian countries, you know, in having early warning system as well as other preparedness. In Malaysia, we also have a team called SMART Team, which is the membership is taken from Army, Fire Brigade and Police, and they are very specially trained to seek and rescue missions, you know. And they can be deployed at very short notice, not only in Malaysia but in other part of Southeast Asia. We have deployed them in other parts of the countries, in other part of the world, in the region. and they have been handled these calamities very effectively.
Your Excellency, we'll continue with our conversation after a short break.
Okay.
Do stay with us. We'll be right back.